na unahin na natin si Dr. Peter.
Okay sa akin.
Opo. Sige po. Pero same pa rin naman po after Dr. Peter, si Sir Milben, then Ma'am Lay, then lastly po si Director Irene.
Sir Jillian?
Yes po, sir.
I-open ko na po ba for the participants? Para may makajoin na?
Apo, pwede na sir. Pero ano ba yun sir? Naka-live na kami agad nun or pwedeng 2 p.m. kami mag-start sir?
Naka-live na po.
Diretsong live na. Pwede bang eksaktong 2 p.m. na sir?
Pwede na sir, pero ano ba yun sir? Naka-live na kami agad. Sige po, mga exact
Apo, para po pagka-on nyo sir. Sir, sabihan nyo po ako pag ila-live nyo na agad para diretso na po akong mag-spill po ng aking introduction.
Okay po.
Okay po, thank you sir.
Okay,
Dali lang po. Sir John, pwede na po pala nating i-live.
Okay po.
Sige po. Good afternoon. We'll start exactly at around 2 p.m. Good afternoon. We'll start in 2 minutes. All right. Good afternoon and welcome to the webinar series of the College of Human Ecology. So this session is organized by the Department of Community and Environmental Resource Planning and the Department of Social Development Services. I am Gillian Consignado, one of the faculty members of DSDS, and together with me is Ms. Sandra Samantella, University Research Associate of the Department of Community and Environmental Resource Planning. We will be the moderators for this session. And today's theme will be focusing on why data matters, the role of geospatial data science technologies for social service delivery in a global pandemic. And we are happy that you're able to join us today. So for now, we have around 800 registered participants for this event. And we are blessed to have international attendees from USA, Bhutan, Japan, UK, and India. And we have provided also a link, which is streaming.uplb.edu.ph, because we have reached the quota of 500 registered participants in the Zoom they can only accommodate 500 participants which can log into Zoom. So the spillover would just watch the streaming.uplb.edu.ph. And to welcome us in this webinar, may I read the message from our Dean, Dr. Aden G. Piadoso. Welcome to the DSERP ePaxis and DSDS eTalks joint webinar series. The period of pandemic, which is a period of uncertainties, requires updated knowledge on how to respond accordingly to the challenges brought by this threat. This seminar series will surely interest our government leaders, practitioners, and academic community, including researchers. The seminar speakers will surely inform and help our policymakers and program implementers in planning for appropriate and timely responsive actions in addressing social services delivery. The importance of the first topic on geospatial data science technologies is of a great importance for all of us in our everyday preparations and monitoring of the measures to combat COVID-19 pandemic. Congratulations, DSERP and DSDS, for organizing this seminar series. The College of Human Ecology will always support such call of times activities. And we also have a message from our College of Human Ecology Extension Coordinator, Prof. Maria Teresa Talavera, who is also a faculty member of the Institute of Human Nutrition and Food. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first of the series of webinars that the DSERP and DSDS will be jointly undertaking. The joint holding of the webinar aims to engage various sectors from government practitioners and academe on a discussion on topics concerning human settlements and social development in times of COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you for taking the time out and being here. The topic today is quite important and interesting as it focuses on the use of data science in informing policymakers and program implementers on appropriate and responsive actions in addressing social service delivery amidst the pandemic. Indeed, while the consequences of COVID-19 are quite serious, there are silver linings to this. COVID-19 did not stop us from learning. In fact, we continued to learn as evidenced by the mushrooming of many learning platforms, and it did not stop voluntarism. In fact, many of us were awakened and volunteered in little ways that we can. As the Chair Extension Coordinator, I enjoin everybody to learn from our resource persons and from each other. Congratulations to DSERP and DSDS. Thank you. So before we begin, we just have some few reminders. This webinar will be recorded and you will be provided with a link to the recording and the presentations of our speakers. For questions, you may type your questions in your Q&A tab anytime during the webinar. Just state your name and organization, as well as who to whom panelists do you direct your questions to, and link to the evaluation form will be flashed at the end of the webinar. E-certificates will also be given after you fill out the evaluation form. So for today's webinar, we have 4 speakers from our partner organizations, and they will share their personal as well as organizations' experiences on how geospatial data science technologies help in social service delivery during this pandemic. So let us now move on our first speaker. So our first speaker is an associate professor at the University of the Philippines Diliman School of Statistics. He graduated with BS in Statistics, magna cum laude, MS in Statistics, both at UP Diliman, and PhD Statistics at the Australian National University. He is a recipient of several awards, such as the BSP UP Centennial Professor Chair in Statistics, and some of his published articles include The Impact of News Sentiment on Financial Risk and Measuring Marketing Risk, Folded Peaks Over Threshold Approach. Aside from teaching, he also served as Deputy Director from Graduate Studies for the Professional Master in Data Science and Analytics. And currently, he is also a member of the UP COVID-19 Pandemic Response Team and one UP NCOV modeling subgroup. So let us call on and welcome Dr. Peter Cayton.
Thank you very much, Professor Jillian. And oops, medyo hindi pa natin adjust on that. Okay. So may I have the permission to share my screen for the presentation? Yes,
All right,
thank
sir.
you. Yes, this one. So thank you very much to the UPLB DSERP and for letting me be able to talk about the projects that we have for the UP COVID-19 pandemic response team in terms of how we use geospatial data science technologies to deliver some of the information that we have about COVID-19. So, so I'm just going to talk about our geospatial data science activities in the UP COVID-19 pandemic response team. Uh, Sir Jillian has been able to say my affiliations with the School of Statistics in UP Diliman and also with the membership at the UP COVID-19 pandemic response team. So I'll be talking about what the COVID-19 pandemic response team of UP is all about, the kinds of data sources that we use to deliver geospatial data science products, and the different projects and statistics that we are doing in the UP COVID-19 pandemic response team, and some references as well. Mukhang rinig naman po ako, ano? Loud and clear po ba? Okay, so what about the UP COVID-19 pandemic response team? So our leaders in the team is Dr. Teodoro Herbosa, the Executive Vice President of the UP system, and Dr. Fredo Maharlagmay of the UP Resilience Institute. So who are we? We are 200 plus experts and volunteers from the whole UP system, from Baguio to Davao. And we span multiple fields, so it's a melting pot of viewpoints about the COVID-19 pandemic, with political scientists, statisticians, mathematicians, geographers, geologists, medical doctors, linguists, helping us to translate our work so that there could be a wider appreciation and wider spread of information to the different peoples that are part of the Philippines, and some economists as well. So the next slides, I'll be featuring some of the slides prepared by Dr. Lagmay in terms of our portfolio in the UP COVID-19 pandemic response team. So first, we have the web portal, the ncov.ph, of which we deliver most of our data products, in which we have here for the information on the transmission behaviors, the epidemic curves, and a lot of other statistics and information that we could give to the public. It started off as an information hub for personnel and for the UP community, but it has gained some following and some patronage well, some following from the public, and thus we've made it more publicly available. It has more information about COVID-19. We also have the chatbot Yanni, the NCOV bot, of which you can ask a lot of information about COVID-19, information about COVID-19 in your communities, and it is able to talk in with respect to many languages: English, Filipino, some regional languages. And one of the innovations that we have with Yanni is now kaya na niyang mag-Becky language, as you can see with some of the example that we have of the talk that Yanni can do. We also deliver a lot of flashcards as these tidbits of information, brief about the research and the projects that we are doing inside the COVID-19 pandemic response team, and also with some of the policy notes that we give out to the public in terms of some directions for policies and recommendations. So we also make the policy notes available in multiple languages: in English, Tagalog, Ilocano, Bicol Central, Waray Samar, Waray Leyte. We also have it in Bahasa Sug as well, the language of the Tausug in Sulu and Miranao, Chavacano, Zamboanga. One of the models, in fact, one of the models that I will be discussing later is what we call our threshold models, in terms of how we classify the risk of outbreak for the different provinces. And we've been working with the national government, though the UP COVID-19 is not necessarily as a whole part of any organization. The people inside the UP COVID-19 pandemic response team, the members, do give presentations to the NTF and IATF. So even though the UP COVID-19 pandemic response team is not officially part of the IATF and NTF, our members are giving presentations to the policymakers on COVID-19. And more recently, it's been 2 months going. We have the coordination with LGUs, so we are able to receive data from the LGUs up to the barangay level through in with guidance coming from the DILG through a memorandum issued by Secretary Anyo. And in fact, I am one of the facilitators of the group in which handles the LGU data. Right now, what we can say about the LGU data, it's not yet it's not yet at the wider scope that we would anticipate it, but with respect to the data that we could be able to, that we are able to analyze, we are having some headway in terms of the analysis of the LGU data. We also have linkages with different institutions. So we have linkages with the National University of Singapore, UC Davis, and University College London. And we are also part of organizations like the Forewarn organization of Forewarn, an organization of academic scientists and humanitarian workers. And some of our members are also active in terms of the other affiliations that they have, which are related to COVID-19. And these are some of our pictures. Nakikita ko na kung saan yung picture ko, pero these are all of us here in the UP COVID-19. And this is still a growing family because more recently we've had the new group chat in UP COVID-19, which is the LGU Data Analytics Group, of which I am facilitating to analyze the LGU data that we have right now. So what am I involved in with the COVID-19 pandemic response team? Well, I am involved with the epidemic curves, the maps that we have. I'm also involved with the LGU data analytics group. And every day I'm writing the statistics on the different island groups, regions, provinces, cities, and municipalities. It's a pretty thick book already. So I've split it into 2 volumes. The second volume being cities and municipalities, and volume one are the other information. And we also have collaborations with the Philippine Society of Public Health Physicians. I'm part of the consortium in the Leads for Health Security and Resilience with the time varying R dashboard as part of the information dissemination that UP COVID-19 function, the ncov.ph functions as an information hub. So our platform is ncov.ph, endcov.ph, and our email is at upri.covid19@up.edu.ph. So what are the data sources that we are analyzing at the UP COVID-19 pandemic response team? So we have two main data sources. One would be the DOH data drop, and the other one would be the UP NCOV LGU quick count. So with the data drop, you can find there the case information of patients, and that is what we often use to make our data on the maps on the geospatial data science, because it is as detailed up to the city level, but we don't have barangay level with the case information because of certain constraints with data privacy of the patient, of which we respect. We also have the testing average by testing laboratories, weekly reports on supplies, and daily reports on hospital capacity. With the UPNCOV LGU, this is a facility for city, municipality, or barangay disaster risk reduction and management officers and staff, and the city, municipality, or barangay health department officers and staff to encode LGU counts regarding COVID-19. This has been endorsed by the DILG memorandum by Secretary Anyo, dated April 28, 2020. And there's a YouTube training video for LGUs to use the ncov.ph quick count website. What kind of data are we asking in the LGU ncov quick count? Well, these are aggregates. We are not asking for case information, so the individual patient cases, because we do respect that the Department of Health, or the DOH, has the official mandate in terms of handling that kind of data. And we are very happy that the DOH is opening up case information data through the data drop. But for us in the UP COVID-19 pandemic response team, the kind of data that we play around, that we analyze, I always use the word play around to the data science activities that we have, that we analyze would be the confirmed cases, suspected cases, probable cases, recovered, tested individuals, deaths, the reporter, so that we could give provenance to the data, the source of data for provenance, uh, the remarks, maybe there are certain details that we have missed out, or maybe certain changes or updates on the data, because the LGUs can update the data with respect to new information coming in, even though that data might have been submitted at a very long time ago. There are also location variables for the aggregation to the different space levels, and also the reference date, so information date and the data of input. We take the most recent date. We take the most recent data based on the date of input. The information date is the reference date for the uh, statistics that are submitted by the LGUs. So what kind of geospatial data projects do we have in statistics in the UP COVID-19 pandemic response team? So one is our time varying reproduction number. Now, the time varying reproduction number is the statistic. Well, reproduction number is the statistic or numerical characteristic in which it is the average number of secondary cases that an individual, that an infected individual would transmit the disease to. So those who get sick, how many tend to get sick by one infected individual? Now, there are two ways of measuring this. One is the basic reproduction number. But the basic reproduction number is the reproduction number if we just let the virus take its course without interventions from any agency of government or the individuals. So the basic reproduction number, it's just the number that is the average number of individuals infected by an infected individual without any interventions. Now, the RT is the expected number of new infections for every previous infections, depending on how infectious they were. And what is the point of the RT? RT is a monitoring statistic. Given that we have placed interventions, how infectious is the virus right now because of the interventions that we have made at time T. Note that it doesn't really change the inherent behavior of the virus to transmit, but it is decreasing in transmission because of the interventions by government, by individuals to reduce the interactions, reduce the outside activities, reduce contact so that the virus doesn't spread or doesn't transmit to others. Now, so those are the two differences with R0 and RT. R0, no interventions. This is the typical way that the virus transmit, that characterized by R0, and RT is the typical, this is the how we see the transmissibility of the disease, given that we have already made interventions. Now, RT greater than 1 means that the disease is still transmitting to the community. There's still an increased transmission. RT less than or equal to 1, it's declining in frequency. And there's an approach that we do it, and that is by Corey et al. 2013. We have the technical notes available at ncov.ph as well, at the advisories menu option at the side of the ncov.ph website. The data source that we use are Datadrop, and we also use the LGU Quick Count, but experimental for NCR right now. So these are the information that you can see from the ncov.ph. And so this is an example for Samar in June 13. And these are the new cases for Samar on June 13. Now, with the case count maps, we use the active cases, confirmed minus recovered minus death. So the remaining cases of COVID-19, and we show them in geographic maps. We show them by province or municipality. And our source of that is the DOH data drop. And these are the information that you can see. So for example, for June 13 in Davao City, there were 103 active cases based on the DOH data drop. For the DOH data drop in Leyte in June 13, there were 62 cases. So this is in the provincial level information. We also have the outbreak threshold or probability of outbreak. Now, this is the measure of how many infected individuals can start an outbreak with a certain chance. What do we mean by outbreak? The start of the widespread transmission of the disease. So how many infected individuals can really start spreading the disease? In this case, it's COVID-19. So for example, for a disease with the R0, the basic reproduction number equal to 2, like COVID-19, as many researchers have pointed out, there's a 90% chance that 3.32, so maybe 3 or 4 infected persons, may start an outbreak in a well-mixing population. Now, for the Philippines, we are not necessarily a well-mixing population because of our geographically fragmented. We are different islands. Different islands have their different population dynamics, therefore mixing dynamics. What do we mean by mixing? It's the ease of having to interact and contact between different individuals in a population. So a well-mixing one, it's pretty easy to interact with the neighbors in a population. But if in the Philippines, there are just a different mixing dynamics that we have. Now, there is a method for us to adjust with regards to mixing, and that would be based on the research by Hartfield and Allison. And that is what we are doing with the outbreak threshold and probability of outbreak. Now, once we know the threshold, we solve a ratio, which is active cases over the threshold. And depending on this ratio, we solve the probability of outbreak for the different provinces, cities, and municipalities. So for example, for Cebu, Cebu is in the dark blue region. It means that it has at least 99% probability of outbreak. For us, at this high of a ratio, this is practically an outbreak scenario in Cebu. And looking at Baguio, so in Baguio, the risk is at dark blue, so at least 99% probability of outbreak. And the ratio is 2.13. Now, one may think, and in most cases, this is practically an outbreak. It's practically or empirically an outbreak scenario in Baguio City as well. Now we also have the medical supplies map. I'm slightly running out of time here, but let me just do this. So you have the medical supplies map, which is mapped by the UP College of Engineering. It is DOST funded. And these are the information that we have in the website for the medical supplies map. We also have the health facilities maps, in which there's information for COVID-19 hospitals, testing centers, quarantine facilities, and referral centers. And these are the kind of information that you can get from the health facilities map. Now, we also have other map projects, and it's a great thanks to our mappers at the UP COVID-19 Pandemic Response Team and the UP Resilience Institute for providing us with this data. And for those who are asking what kind of software we're using, I use R for my data crunching, but once we have the data per area, our mappers would translate it to ArcGIS and QGIS. They also do independent ArcGIS and QGIS projects as well. And this is one sample that we have. So right now we have maps from NCR as much as we can collate them. And as you can see on the right side, we also have the maps for the number of confirmed cases. So this is not necessarily the active cases. So these are confirmed cases based on the barangay level data that is available to us from the LGU data. some of the LGU data comes from the city and barangay officers and staff. Some come from the UPRI researchers. So yeah, so that is the kind of data that we have and the kind of information that we can have in that as well. So these are my references for your information. Thank you very much. Stay safe always. Thank you.
Thanks again, Dr. Peter, for the informative presentation. Although when I have seen your formula, it brings back memories of my math and stat class, which I don't want to remember anymore. But still, we truly have seen how you embody oblation in your work, how your research influenced our policymakers and LGUs as well as our citizens, and will surely support your COVID-19 team. So thanks, sir. Again, we are live at streaming.uplb.edu.ph. That's streaming.uplb.edu.ph. And you can again encode or input your questions at the Q&A tab. And for our next speaker, he is a licensed forester and environmental planner, committed to provide innovative solutions to environmentally related problems through GIS and remote sensing. He graduated with BS in forestry and MS in environmental science, both from UPLB. Mr. Bragais is a geographic information system practitioner in fields of environmental science and disaster risk reduction and management. He's also the co-founder and incumbent president of Geographic Innovations for Development Solutions, or GRIDS, a registered environmental consultancy firm that aims to provide scientifically based decisions using GIS. And through GRIDS, he provides capacity building training for local government units, academics, students, researchers, and all interested professionals to mainstream the application of GIS to the climate change adaptation efforts in the Philippines. So let's all welcome Mr. Milben Bragais.
Thank you, Prof. Jillian. So let me share my screen. Okay. Okay, thank you very much once again. And good afternoon. I am Milben A. Bragais from GRIDS, the team behind Project Ramdam. And once again, thank you very much for the organizers, DSERP and DSDS for inviting us to present our project under the private localized initiative to provide insights on why data matters and the role of geospatial data science technologies for social service delivery during this pandemic. Okay, so a brief background. So COVID-19 from, of course, China. The first case was recorded January 30 in the Philippines. And after more than a month, an enhanced community quarantine was imposed. So government agencies like DOST shared calls for geoinformation solutions for the private sectors like us, the Geographic Innovations for Development Solutions Inc., or GRIDS, which is a geospatial company based in Los Baños, Laguna. So the call was for the researchers and developers to provide initiatives in these four pressing problems. So one, contact tracing; two, traffic management; three, logistics of food and other essential supplies; and number four, isolation of affected areas. So this was a week after the ECQ. So we at GRIDS decided to focus on the number three problem, or the logistics of food and other essentials. So and we chose the right problem to tackle because according to the DOST submitted proposal, the space for the tracing and reporting is already crowded, as well as the traffic management and the medical supply space. So we are considered as in prototype, but needs testing stage. So since we are in Los Baños during the lockdown, so it is an easy choice to choose the 14 barangays of Los Baños as our pilot testing areas. Okay, so before we develop the solution, we need to understand first the situation. So our observation, mostly from the social media, is that there are a large volume of relief packs from the LGU, national government, private sector. So there is a need to have better management. And most of the LGUs are still doing manual recording and monitoring. So we saw an opportunity for relief distribution and monitoring system. Also, based from our observation, most LGUs are posting their in social media, particularly in Facebook. So they are posting relief distribution details like the schedule, the content of the relief pack, and some announcement. So the opportunity was why not have a dedicated platform for these postings, no? So for better data management. So on the ground, barangay personnel usually conduct manual recording. So they bring pen and paper. So we thought of why not use the mobile phone for data collection for more efficient method. And also for the resident side, they also post their feedback in social media. So they're posting thank you messages, even thank you with the list of the items that they received. They also used to photograph the relief packs. Okay, so the same idea is not is that why not have a dedicated platform for this, so that in reporting we can easily manage the data. So aside from this positive feedback, there are also negative feedback. So most are posting where are the relief packs, or this happens, I think, almost a month or 3 weeks after the implementation of the ECQ. So people are asking where. So if only we have a platform where we can see where is the government project or distribution. So where is the map of the relief pack distribution. So also there are posting asking for the list for transparency. So there is a need for a platform instead of social media where there is a very crowded space. And the last observation is that most residents, their requests contain location information. So they are telling that we are here, bring us food here. So there is an opportunity for the geotagging. So after realizing the problem, then the current situation, we are now decided that we will be making a platform. So Project Ramdam shall serve as a portal between community citizens and the government to share accurate information about the nature of the relief distribution activities, contents of relief packs, schedule of distribution, and feedback from the recipients. And since this is a startup, we were tasked to deliver a study, R&D study, which involves the deployment, the development, deployment, and testing of the Project Ramdam in the pilot area. Okay, so the product. So we have two products, the web portal and then the mobile app. So the general function was in the web portal, you can post the relief details, and then you can monitor the feedback from the residents. You can also monitor the request from the residents and produce infographic or see the summary in the dashboard. And on the other side, the mobile app, the resident can view the posting using the mobile app. They can send feedback, they can send requests, and through geotagging. Okay, So the web portals that it's already up, you can just type in your browser ramdam.ph, and then this is the landing page. So it's very simple. You can see the map, and then you can just query or type your location or municipalities, and then you can see the posting of your barangay. So the requirement is that the LGU should be on board so that they could provide the posting. Okay. On the other hand, the mobile app is now available in Google Play Store. So as of the moment, it's only available in Android. Okay. So to give you an overview of the main feature, which is the feedback feature. So as I mentioned, so the barangay user will post in the web portal. The resident will see the posting, and then during the relief operation, for those residents without mobile cell phone, the barangay distributor can use his mobile app to record the feedback of the resident, and with his permission, they could get the photograph or a geotag of the relief pack for monitoring. Or also, the resident can also send their own feedback in their own time. So in the web portal, the barangay user can now monitor the feedback of the residents. So this is the sample of the map. So they can see that there are smiling faces in green. They are complete. They receive complete relief packs, and they are happy. They are smiling. And then those in red are they receive incomplete. So there would be a mechanism for tracking and informing them. The second feature is the relief request feature. So for those who felt that they were not reached by the relief operation or the PWD, so they can use the mobile app to send requests just by geotagging their location and then sending the information to the web portal. Okay, so the barangay user can track or monitor the request, and then they can address it. They can change the status from pending to confirmed and ongoing while they address the request. Okay, so the actual deployment is that we use the help of the youth volunteers and SK personnel. So we teach them how to use the mobile app, and then there is just three simple ways to use the app. So the landing page is the first photo, and then the form, and then the third one is the geotag. So it's very easy to use. And then the SK use the mobile app. After they get the feedback of the residents, they can easily view the distribution of the relief packs and see the spatial location of the recipients. So this is the sample of the photos of the recipients with timestamp for transparency. And then on the web portal, the barangay user can easily monitor the extent of the distribution. Okay. So the best feature of the app is that it is user friendly. So it's just a map, and then you can send the feedback, and then you can have a spatial based monitoring. So you can easily see the distribution of the operation. And then we have near real time feedback monitoring. So the distributor could collect data offline, and then when he has a internet connection, he can easily sync the data to the cloud, to the web portal. And then of course data management and reporting. So it is much easier to summarize, to create infographic graphs for transparency and accountability. So with the use of these tools, the deliveries of social services will be more efficient. Okay, so what's next? As of now, we are finishing off the pilot testing in Los Baños, Laguna, and we're hoping that we can test the system in NCR and eventually have a national rollout of the system. So as of now, the target end users, the DILG, the Department of Interior and Local Government, DSWD, and OCD. We have a preliminary communication with them. We already presented the system. Right now, we are just finishing off with the pilot testing, and then we can proceed to the phase 2 of the project. So hopefully, those who are watching can try the mobile app and answer the user feedback form. So for additional features, so you can download the app in Google Play Store, and you can visit our Facebook page at Project Ramdam for more details. So thank you very much, and stay safe.
All right. Thanks again, Sir Milben, for your organization, the efforts of your organization, and for having Los Baños as your pilot testing site. Hopefully, your project Ramdam will also be seen, or the technology may also be seen by other municipalities and will be used by other municipalities as well. Because during this time, our gadgets, laptop, phones are essential tools in development as well as in outreaching also our kababayans. So thank you, Sir Milben. And again, for our questions, you may input it at the Q&A tab. And for your greetings, it's on the chat tab. So again, for the questions in the Q&A tab, and for your greetings, and it's going to be on our chat tab. So for our third speaker is the co-founder of AI for Gov, a startup providing AI solutions for local governance based at Dado Banatao Incubator, Asian Institute of Management. She has led several national and regional nonprofit organizations in Southeast Asia. She also held positions at the Sustainable Livelihood Program, Department of Social Welfare and Development, and Fund Life International. She graduated with BS in Community Development, magna cum laude, and college valedictorian from UP Diliman's College of Social Work and Community Development. She was also an academic fellow in social entrepreneurship and economic development through the Young Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative at the University of Connecticut, USA. So let us all welcome Miss Lei Motilia.
Hi, hello everyone. Thank you for the welcome. And let me just share my screen. There we go. Ayan. It's actually very nice to hear from the first two speakers. And it's a very different experience knowing that we both have like the three we have like different pathways in the COVID-19 response, but I hope that eventually we also converge into a common collaboration point. So yeah, anyway, so hello, I'm Lei. I'm co-founder of AI for Gov. AI for Gov is a gov tech startup dedicated to improve public services and promote citizen participation. So we're actually born out of the UNDP Youth Collab. And the context that we're coming from is that we're youth leaders. So right after college, you have a small self. You're not very confident, but then eventually you join youth leadership. You volunteer to communities, and then eventually you have an expanded worldview. And then also you learn how to navigate with personalities and all of that. And then also once you combine that with experiences in working with national governments and combining different disciplines together, then I think that's the mix of AI for Gov. So unlike the previous two speakers, we don't claim ourselves as we're not experts. So we're young, we're young, we're enthusiastic, and we learn a lot. So I think that's where we're coming from. From there, from our very humble beginnings, we're not even 1 years old actually. And then we were adopted at the open mentorship program of the Dado Banatao Incubator. And eventually, we tested several products, and we have seen very fast growth, like a startup growth as well. So from one municipality, working with one municipality, we were adopted by the region, the LG Region 4A, and then to develop different solutions for them until the Taal eruption happened, actually, and then COVID. So yeah, so I think, yeah, so just a bit of an overview. What we are after is improving public services for the government, because we know that worldwide governance indicators for the Philippines has really fallen. And there's a web of entangled service problems. In fact, only 22% of LGUs pass the seal of good governance. So definitely there's a need. And with the Mandamas decision also in 2022, so there will even be more power in LGUs, which is a good thing. But at the same time, there's also a need to support development, local development, or bridge divides between citizens and local governments. So that's where we're coming from. And we all know that the world is changing fast, and there are a lot of tools available, ubiquitous tools available to us. And our question is, how can government keep up? So our reason to be, um, when we all decided to quit our jobs and start the startup, is really this. So the opportunity that we saw, the insight that we saw, is the behavior of Filipinos on social media. In fact, latest statistics from Facebook would say that there are 65 million Filipinos on Messenger per month. And so this is the platform, the channel that people communicate in. And LGUs have also seen the this behavior among their citizens. In fact, a lot of local governments, if not majority of them, will have their own Facebook pages. And if you ask them, so how do you communicate to your citizens, they would tell you that mostly through Facebook. However, this is still limited, right? Because in Facebook, for example, they're vulnerable to public shaming as well, right? You have trolls, or you have people who have different opinions. So then it's also a risk, because it's hard to communicate service, and it's hard to cross that divide. So basically, our first insight is, how do we nudge this? How do we leverage in this infrastructure and nudge it a little bit via design and empathy to help local governments and citizens? So first, we created a series of what we call digital buy-in bots. So where citizens can connect with their LGUs, provide feedback in a very flexible and scalable manner. Because let's say, unlike mobile applications, this doesn't really require a big budget and a lot of maintenance. Basically, if you have Messenger, that's it. So all we have to do is hook you up. So our solutions is really all about empathetic design. So that's one. And then we also created this for the LG4A, which we called Negosyo Center Bots. So this is a lead magnet for budding social entrepreneurs. So our process is really service design. We always listen to the stakeholders and design the pathway for them to reach their the service that they wanted. So I think that's where we are coming from. And AI is really like a buzzword, but AI is a very baby. It's a very baby technology, and sometimes you feel that, oh, AI, so, right? It's like it's something na unreachable for your common Filipino. So our hack is really socializing AI first through the use of bots. Because once this behavior has already been there, then you can then apply uh, advances in your technology. So we introduced this to LGU through analytics and micro targeting. So what we do is we build solutions that amplify meaningful public service. So what we care about is is enabling a healthy public sector value chain. And we do this by just designing ways that builds on present communication channels for people, because that means there is lessened transaction costs, because there may be a presence of technology, but technology adoption is a very different thing. So this is where we're coming from. So what do people use right now? How can we nudge it a little bit such that it's easier for them to adopt the technology? So basically, in principle, our bot systems provide information, services, linkages, and feedback mechanisms, which are then passed on through LGUs and then Citizens Portal for transparency. So that's what we do. Anyway, so we've also tested the capability of this innovative tool in reaching low-income communities. So our results so far are excellent, with 3.5 million interactions, and we've seen how low-income households, after we run a regression analysis, how they actually find the tool accessible. So, and then we've also run a PPI versus CBMS analysis. And in the end, when we were doing this among uh, our nanais, so what they find is that using a very simple tool like their own messenger, they don't have to spend money to get to the town hall and back, only to know the requirements for medical assistance, or they don't have to accuse their mayors, for example, that only those who are close to the mayor get the opportunity. So with one click of a button, everyone gets notified that these are the livelihood opportunities, these are the activities, and this is what we've done in our first partner municipality. And then when Taal erupted, we've also quickly, within 2 days, we presented this to DALG. And yeah, so let me just run through this so that we can go to COVID. So after that, after quickly doing this for Taal, we then received messages asking us, "Hi, is your team from the government asking if our team is also doing COVID-19 bots?" So very quickly, we have pivoted within a day from from focusing on Taal eruption, which we were supposed to deploy these in evacuation centers, to COVID. So there, we finally reached it. So that, because it's really a story of growth for us. Again, we are less than a year old. So with Kira contra COVID, we started. So the start of Kira contra COVID was very quick. So I think it was March 15 when we decided we're going to do this, and then we deconstructed the available algorithms of DOH, and then we presented very quickly to them. And we thought first that we were the only ones, but then like 2 days later, we had a ready MOA with DOH, and then the concept notes were also there. And like 3 days later, we found also that there were many offers on the table. So then we had this big meeting of all applications related to chatbots, for example. And then it was actually a beautiful collaboration point, because first we thought, oh, who it's like a bidding process, like a random bidding process from the start. And then eventually we find that, if you persist enough, um, we actually built collaborations. So from there, from that meeting, we ended up collaborating with other startups and being supported by Facebook and Viber. So then they actually gave the boost for Facebook advertisements all over the Philippines, and also Viber to support Kira contra COVID. And there were many lessons to be learned in how collaborations emerge during such a time. So yeah, so then our 1-year-old startups have been then collaborating with super older startups that are much more richer than us. So I think that's like a good story to be told, because these stories are not really available in the public. So how could startups work with governments, like, right? So because there's a lot of I know it's like when you're outside, it does feel like a monolith, right? But when you're inside, you'd actually appreciate all of the hard work of people inside, and the coordination and the navigation that goes on inside the DOH and partners. So that's something to note. So then the other part of it is Kira on Viber. So both of the Kira chatbots are housed in the Department of Health's Facebook page and the Department of Health's Viber community. So there were a lot of sleepless nights working with the doctors of DOH and with different coordinators inside the group, and it was a very great experience for us as a young startup, because really it was attitude of working, humility and working together with them. And in this chatbot, actually, sorry, I went to putting the human story out of all of these technologies. So from here, as you've seen in the video, so the person would then put their symptoms in the contra COVID application, and then so then and then after that, sorry, they get a triage. Sorry, I wasn't able to follow here. So there. Oops. There. Ayan. Let's just quickly go through it. So the design is very simple. And this is what you get with empathic design. It's straightforward and it is actually nice to use. So then after that, you get to contra COVID. You do your self-assessment. So the self-assessment is based on the latest algorithm of DOH and is approved by them, made by them. And the symptoms, the advices that you get are also from them. We are able to collect public information because it's DOH owned, and we subscribe to their very rigorous standards on privacy and security. So this was all created with DOH, and then the locations as well. We're working with the Department of Health's Epidemiology Bureau. There, and then so what happens next? So from the beginning we thought about it as, well, these chatbots cannot exist on their own, and because it won't really be effective, there has to be a way to link the data coming from the bots, the public face of it, to LGUs. So Kira then links citizen reports to LGUs via their access to the contra COVID portal. So this is an example of that portal. So then they get the dashboard, and then they are tasked to verify the self-reports that they get from the bots using the platform, and then they verify the information using their own case management desk. So what municipal health offices do is that they verify the information, and then they call the the person who the self-reported who provided the self-report, and then they confirm the symptoms. And then after this, our what's next for us is we're actually in the process of integrating with COVID Kaya. So COVID Kaya is the official application of the Department of Health Epidemiology Bureau. And then what they do is that they collect all of the information with different applications, and then that's the sort of source of truth for data. And right now we are part of the DICT ICT. So there's an official architecture for the applications, and then you have to go through a super rigorous process of coordinating and collaborating, and there are system integrators and architects in the team. So they're working hard to integrate different applications together with COVID Kaya, which is also led by DOH EB and supported by the World Health Organization. So it's pretty remarkable to work with them as well, because it may seem very opaque to the public, but when you're inside and you're talking to them day to day, and all of these collaborations going on, it's a great experience. It's like so anyway, so sorry, I feel because it's a roller coaster ride for us. And then of course we also have the mapping feature, and let me just finish the slides. But apart from the health data collection, we're actually doing socioeconomic data collection with the UNDP. So we have developed innovative tools for them to assess the impact of COVID-19 among vulnerable populations. So we did A/B test experiments with digital. So with AFRGov, we combine digital strategies and communication with the technology. So it's really like a whole, experience with user design, with a user at the center of it. So I think that's where we sort of emphasize our, value proposition as a small tech startup. And we do data mining as well. And then what we did for the COVID-19 is that we did from a lot of data coming from the chatbots in assessing the socioeconomic impact of COVID, we then use this feedback to map out issues related to COVID. So that's what we did, and then we are creating classifiers and topic models for them there. So in the end, what we're interested in is not the exercise of creating topic models, but really the exercise of how does this then bridge to local government action or to response. So what we did was we mapped out key issues and then applied AI and ML techniques so that it could eventually be used by local governments to discover strong and weak signals, target communication strategies, and leverage on local influencers. So this is where we are at right now. In our first month, we have processed 1.5 million tweets and classified them and clustered them according to three issues. So basic services, including mobility, food, and then for state response are stuff that you expect from government, like medical aid, government aid, cash assistance, etc. And then social cohesion are the keywords that we tracked related to what people feel. Stuff like bayanihan, and then we've also seen a lot of keywords like Diyos. So you have seen that how people are coping internally as well with the experience that they are seeing. But as you can see here, because this is coming from Twitter data, so eventually after the big news, it actually like normalized a bit. But that's the nature of Twitter data. But if this were Facebook data, then we're probably seeing a different trend. So in the end, what we are developing is our own resilience AI that predicts high-risk households and social services they're eligible for from womb to tomb. And at the heart of what we do is community organizing, because that's why the technologies that we use are technologies that are highly accessible to them. And I haven't like mentioned that we also have SMS capabilities with Kira Contra COVID, which will be used by COVID Kaya in filling out the fields that are required to have a richer and better data collection mechanism for DOH. So at AI for Gov, AI doesn't really stand for artificial intelligence. That's too presumptuous. AI for us really starts with appreciative inquiry, providing accessible information, and that leverages AI technology so that we can have actionable insights for participatory governance. So I think that's it. So the team is young and composed of, like what I said, digital communication, entrepreneurs, and computer scientists. And then we aim to build the future of governance, and we start with foundationals. There. So I think that's it. So I think my time is up as well. So AI for Gov is about building practical tech solutions that are inclusive and transformative. Yeah, there. Thank you.
Thanks, Miss Lei. By the way, Miss Lei is live streaming straight from Saigon, Ho Chi Minh, Vietnam. We are blessed to have her despite her busy schedule. And truly, the government can provide all the needs of our citizens. That is why we give a big salute to organizations and efforts such as what you are doing, using technology not for trolling or bashing, but to provide right information to our citizens. Again, we are live at streaming.uplb.edu.ph. And for your Q&A or your questions, use the Q&A tab. As of now, we have 424 participants who are logged in our Zoom account, and the rest are watching live stream. So for our last, but definitely not the least speaker, she will be talking about the national context of social service delivery. She has been with the Department of Social Welfare and Development for more than 5 years. She's a former regional program coordinator of the Pantawid Pamilya Pilipino program, the country's flagship poverty alleviation program, in the department's field office in the Cordillera Administrative Region. In 2018, she was appointed as one of the deputy program managers of the said program. In 2019, she was designated as the spokesperson of DSWD and officer in charge of the social marketing service, the department's communication arm. As an OIC of SMS, she leads the service in undertaking advocacy, social marketing, networking activities to promote social change and to nurture DSWD's relationship with its publics and stakeholders. So let us all welcome Director Irene Dumlao.
Very much, Professor Jillian. Good afternoon to all the participants of this webinar. Foremost, I would like to apologize that I came in late. We had to attend to some important matters. And again, we apologize, but we are very pleased and grateful for this opportunity. And we are expressing our gratitude in behalf of the Department of Social Welfare and Development for inviting us to share the experiences of the department and how the agency fulfills its mandate in delivering the needed services to the poor, the marginalized, and the vulnerable, particularly in these trying times, utilizing, of course, data science technology. Before we start with the presentation, let me just share my screen. Okay, I shall deliver the subject matter, the national context of the social services delivering in times of pandemic.
Hello?
Sorry. Okay. We would like to deliver the national context of the social services delivery in the manner that we know how. And that is through usapan tayo. Mag-usap po tayo regarding the implementation of social services in this time of crisis. The Department of Social Welfare and Development is the national government agency mandated to formulate policies and plans that provide direction in the development and delivery of social welfare and development services in our country. The department has been implementing various programs and services for the poor, the vulnerable, and the marginalized. We assist them and improve the quality of their lives. In the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic in the country, DSWD, as the lead agency in social protection, has been addressing the social impacts of this health crisis in the lives of our fellow citizens. To support the low-income families that have been affected by the imposition of the community quarantine, we have implemented the social amelioration program, which is being delivered to the target beneficiaries with the help of the local government units and other national government agencies. Through this particular program, we are able to cushion the effects of the pandemic to poor Filipino families whose jobs and sources of livelihood have been disrupted by the virus, by providing them with cash aid, which they could use to provide for their basic necessities. But apart from the social amelioration program, the department is also implementing other social protection programs, which is part of our mandate and is part of our contribution to the social protection policy of the government. As I've mentioned, we continue to implement social insurance and social assistance and social safety nets. The social insurance includes the implementation of the social pension for indigent senior citizens, and under the social assistance, we continue to implement the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program, the Sustainable Livelihood Program, the Kalahi Seeds, and the Supplemental Feeding Program. And of course, the continued implementation of social safety nets, such as the assistance for individuals in crisis situation and relief assistance. Now let us talk about, o pag-usapan natin, the best practices in service delivery using data science. Data science has been a big help in the implementation of the social protection programs. It actually helped us or assisted us in answering the questions who and where. Who are the poor, the vulnerable, and the disadvantaged? Where do they reside or where are they located? In a country of more than 100 billion people, who need help the most and where are they? The availability of a timely, accurate, and relevant data enables both the government and the private sector to address a wide range of issues in today's rapidly evolving economic and social landscape. More importantly, data and information generated by the government can help address the emergent issues and concerns in our society. And one of the programs that we have that helps us in identifying who and where the poor are is the Listahanan. It is also known as the National Household Targeting System for Poverty Reduction. This has aided the DSWD in answering the questions I've earlier mentioned. The Listahanan is an information management system that identifies who and where the poor are nationwide. The updating of the Listahanan database through the conduct of a nationwide household assessment is done by the department every 4 years, as provided for under Executive Order number 867, series of 2010. And the third nationwide household assessment, or Listahanan 3, has actually started. This system makes available to different national government agencies and other social protection stakeholders a database of poor families as basis in identifying potential beneficiaries of their social protection programs and services. Listahanan aims to formulate unified criteria for the identification of the poor population through scientific means. Second, it facilitates sharing of high-quality database to public and private social protection stakeholders and ensures the cost efficiency of social protection programs by reducing leakage and undercoverage. The Listahanan provides a unified set of criteria in identifying the poor. It enables convergence and complementation of social protection programs in addressing the different dimensions of poverty. This helps maximize the impact of social protection programs and, of course, at the same time, minimize the waste of resources since the right people are identified and assisted. This strategy enables the government to reduce leakage rates in program beneficiary selection. We would like to explain further that the Listahanan is a 4-phase project cycle that guides the process of identifying who and where the poor are. This includes the preparatory phase, the data collection and analysis phase, and the validation and finalization stage, and of course, the reports generation phase. Given that the vast majority of poor are either unemployed or in the informal economy, this is a difficult process to determine since their income level and their place in the population quintiles. This is where the proxy means test comes in. The PMT, or the proxy means test, is a statistical model that approximates the welfare level of the households based on observable, verifiable proxy indicators of the family's income, such as materials used in house structure, families' access to basic services, and access to facilities like water, electricity, and ownership of specific assets, among others. It uses a multivariate regression to correlate certain proxies such as assets and household characteristics with poverty and income. The PMT is vital to the project because it identifies the family's income through non-income indicators and comparing them to the official poverty threshold of the provinces, hence identifying where the household is poor or non-poor. And with this method, the Listahanan is able to achieve a 20% inclusion and exclusion rate. The data on listahanan has been used in DSWD's deduplication process, where names of potential beneficiaries of other programs and services are cross-matched with those in the database to see if they are included in the list of poor households. Now, the next question is, the DSWD knows who and where the poor are. Now, how do we perform the rest of our mandate? The DSWD uses the listahanan database in targeting beneficiaries of its various programs and services, such as the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program, and which is the country's conditional cash transfer program. The Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program provides, well, it is a human development program of the national government, implemented, of course, by the DSWD in coordination with other national government agencies and the local government units. And this program invests in the health and education of poor households, particularly of the children aged 0 to 18 years old. And the program uses the conditional cash transfer scheme to provide cash grants to beneficiaries, provided, of course, that they comply with the specific conditions of the program. With the implementation of this particular program, data science has been used to continuously minimize double entries in the master list of beneficiaries using techniques such as phonetic, edit distance, and statistical similarity. The listahanan, or the National Household Targeting System for Poverty Reduction, has also been used in other social protection programs of the DSWD, including, of course, the social pension for indigent senior citizens, wherein we provide a stipend, a monthly stipend to senior citizens who are frail and sickly or above 60 years old and have no sources of income and they are not receiving any support from their immediate families. We also have the unconditional cash transfer, which is the tax subsidy program under the Tax Reform for Acceleration and Inclusion, which seeks to provide cash subsidies to 10 million indigent Filipino families to cushion the effect of the adjustments in the excise tax of petroleum products and sweetened beverages. We also have the Sustainable Livelihood Program, which is a capacity building program being implemented by the DSWD that helps improve the socioeconomic conditions of poor households and communities through accessing and acquiring necessary assets to engage in and maintain thriving households. And at present, we have the Social Amelioration Program, which provides emergency subsidies it provides emergency subsidies to low-income families who have been affected by the implementation of the community quarantine as a result of this health crisis. Significantly, the DSWD's listahanan was the official data source that served as the basis in providing the indicative number of target beneficiaries of the Social Amelioration Program for each local government unit. From the 15 million poor families identified in the listahanan, we were able to generate 18 million target beneficiaries of the SAP as we considered the population growth rate under the Philippine Statistics Authority. That is why we were able to arrive at 18 million target beneficiaries. Likewise, the listahanan has been used by other government agencies to deliver social protection programs such as the PhilHealth for the universal and help other stakeholders. Foremost, the listahanan database has been shared with local government units, fellow national government agencies, and non-government organizations, wherein this was used as a planning tool for implementing programs related to education, nutrition, health, maternal and child care, employment, water, sanitation, electricity, shelter, and environment intended to benefit poor families. With the available socioeconomic information, data users can see which families or communities are in need of specific intervention. For instance, the DSWD's listahanan can tell which households are in need of sanitary toilet facilities or do not have access to potable water. The department's database of poor households can also serve as a mechanism for validating data on poverty produced by other sources. such as the community-based monitoring system or other locally driven data collection activities, especially when they cover the same areas and contain similar sets of data for the same time frame. DSWD's listahanan can also be used as data resource and a reference for research and studies. Findings from studies that utilize DSWD data has been either for policy and or program development and improvement. Utilization of data occurs once results are considered in decision making and program improvement, including the development of positions on certain issues, as well as in the formulation and the amendment of particular legislative action or policies. With the implementation of this and the use of technologies, of course, there are certain challenges that have been encountered, particularly in the implementation of the various social protection programs and services. One of which, of course, is the implementation, because it is what is more popular at present. We would like to present the challenges met by the department in the implementation of the social amelioration program. The SAP is by far the biggest cash assistance in terms of coverage and amount in the history of our country. And the social amelioration program has provided about 18 million families in the informal sector with cash assistance, amounting to almost 100 billion for the first tranche of its implementation. And for the second tranche of the assistance, the department is targeting to extend the aid to a total of 17 million low-income families, composed of 8 million from the identified areas considered as under ECQ still, and 5 million waitlisted nationwide. And out of that, there are also 3.5 million families under the ECQ areas. Implementing such a wide-ranging national program and delivering the much-needed SAP assistance to target beneficiaries in the soonest possible time is not an easy task. We have to admit that. We encountered challenges in terms of the gathering of data of the beneficiaries, the validation of the list of families as to their eligibility to the aid, and to ensure likewise that there is no duplication in the assistance provided and in the distribution of the aid to millions of beneficiaries, especially during this time of pandemic. In addressing the challenges that we have encountered, we are thankful for our partners for extending their assistance in the use particularly of technology to gather and to address the numerous and significant complaints that we have received pertaining to the implementation of the various programs of the department, not only on the social amelioration program, but also on the other social protection programs, such as the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program, the social pension, and the other programs that I've earlier mentioned. For the 4Ps, let me just mention that we have the grievance redress system. Other national program management offices have their own grievance redress system that captures and addresses all the complaints pertaining to program implementation. And likewise, for the social amelioration program, we also have partnered with several organizations that have aided us in capturing and in gathering and capturing complaints so that we could respond to this in a time efficiently and in a timely manner. Likewise, since we have taken note of the lessons that we have learned and the feedback that we have gathered from the first tranche implementation of the SAP, we have streamlined our processes to allow local government units to gather beneficiary data and distribute the assistance more efficiently. And as you can see in your screen, we have introduced the Relief Agad mobile application. This is a quick relief system that enables the SWD to expedite the capturing of social amelioration card details as provided by our beneficiaries. The app features an electronic payment system interface enabling us to disburse cash assistance to beneficiaries can register their information as provided in their social amelioration card forms on the Relief Agad system through its website. The Relief Agad caters to the needs of DSWD and our beneficiaries by combining crowdsourcing and manual encoding of local government units and leveraging on a tech-savvy population. This process helps the government provide relief immediately. The DSWD is actually thankful to our partners from the Department of Interior Information and Communications Technology, the United States Agency for International Development, and the Developers Connect Philippines community of technology partners for helping us in this critical task of providing technology. Uh, um, by providing technology in ensuring that the emergency assistance to our fellow countrymen during this crisis is efficiently delivered. The DSWD acknowledges that we are living in a very uncertain time, so it is important for us to adopt to this new normal, as they say. Eventually, we are looking at a cashless and contactless distribution of aid to our fellow citizens in order to prevent the spread of the virus by taking advantage of our electronic payment systems available today. The introduction of the Relief Agad is our first step to achieving this. It is actually the start of a more efficient delivery of social services by DSWD in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. But we would also like to mention the department has started with the um, distribution also of cash aid, particularly the cash cards of our 4-piece beneficiaries to their cash cards. So it's also done electronically, which has proven to have hastened the distribution of the grants and the emergency subsidy to our existing beneficiaries. So with that, we hope that we are able to provide a context on how the department implements its social protection programs, the services that it extends to the poor, to the vulnerable, and the marginalized members of our community. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Director Irene Dumlao, for sharing the program and efforts of DSWD, the 4Ps, Usap Tayo, Listahan, and Relief Agad, and all other social projects. Truly, your office has a big role in sustaining development efforts of the government, specifically in the access of basic services. So thanks again to all our speakers. Now we move on to our open forum. Seems you already have a lot of questions posted for our speakers. And to discuss it live, I now give the floor to my co-moderator, Miss Sandra Samantela.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Sir Jillian, and good afternoon to our panelists and to our 412 participants in this webinar. We are overwhelmed with your interesting questions. And now let me read some of the most thought-provoking questions that we have screened prior to this segment. So we will start with the questions for Dr. Peter Kaiton. Doctor, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry.
Yes. Dr. Peter, the first question is, are there initiatives to help DOH or LGUs to target samples for the expanded targeted testing?
Expanded target samples. I believe I've answered that question already, pero there are some members inside the UP COVID-19 pandemic response team who are doing these work for the targeted sampling for the expanded targeted testing. We have some members there. I just don't know if the project is already done or is still in a continuing process. So, but we do know that we do have some members in that endeavor.
All right, thank you, Doc. This second question is quite controversial. How does the number of late cases reported affect your data analysis? And how do you backtrack, track, or adjust your computations?
Parang nasagot ko na ata yan. Sige, sandali. Pero the way that I would be answering that question is, yeah, we do understand that there are these issues with regards to the late cases because this is official DOH data, and we do hope that DOH makes more efficient their processes of processing the testing results and also expanding their targeted testing. What happens is right now, with regards to the statistics that we have, we are constrained with using the reported new cases, which is combining both the fresh and the late. with respect to reporting transmission statistics like the RT that I've described earlier. Uh, we are, in fact, I've released some initial reports on the activities that we're doing with respect to adjusting in terms of the delays, because in the DOH data drop, there's an additional set of dates of which we could really use to adjust the results on the transmission statistics. And we've also done some initial reports, and I've shared it with some of my with some of my public social media accounts in Facebook and Twitter, what we were doing in terms of adjusting for testing, adjusting for the late and fresh cases by using alternative dates like the estimated onset date. So but right now, with the direction that we're having, these are just initial reports, but they do give us a lot of insights about how COVID-19 has transmitted in the early days of the pandemic, which kind of feels like a century to me, really. Uh, so um, with these ideas, it is a work in development that we have. We are trying our best to maybe use alternative statistical techniques to really have a way to describe how transmission is working currently in the Philippines, even though we do have this issue with the data with some delays.
Yeah, it is really challenging for managing data and transmitting it for everyone um, to make use of. So let me just remind the viewers that NCOV data is publicly available, and they can just go to ncov.ph/map, di ba, Doc? So they can
Yes, nandun yung data. Yes, the maps that I've showed earlier, they are publicly available. They are at the website. We try our best to update them as much as we have information from them, but they are updated as far as we can update them. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Doc. And now we have some questions for our second speaker, for Sir Milben from Project Ramdam. Sir Milben, for post-pandemic, where could the Project Ramdam app be used? Could this be applied in other epidemics like dengue or disaster response like post-typhoon?
Actually, yes po. We are looking to apply this system, for example, even in volcanic eruption. So all those disaster response, like distribution of relief packs, and also addressing to the request of those people in evacuation areas. So there is a unlimited potentials for this system, I think. So that is being echoed by the sentiments from OCD and DILG, and also as well as DSWD during our previous presentation. So we are looking to hopefully to use this system post COVID-19 pandemic.
Thank you, sir. And talaga nga naman magagamit natin yung app, no? Actually, I just want to remind also everyone to upload the app and explore its features. And I would like to highlight the importance of feedback from communities on how do we, so that we can monitor how efficient the services are delivered in our communities.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, can I add something?
Yes,
So
sir.
for those who would like to use the app, as of now, the data or the posting for the LGUs are only available in Los Baños, Laguna. But anyone can download the app, but they should not be expecting posting from their LGU, since their other LGUs are not yet on board on this. So they could check out the entries from Los Baños municipalities if they would like to see sample features. Okay. Thank you, po.
Looking forward, sir, to roll out that application countrywide. Next questions would be for the last speaker, Director Irene. Unfortunately, Ms. Lei has to leave early this webinar for another meeting. We have a question here for Director Irene. Given the COVID-19 impacts to the Filipino public, is there a possibility that we could use updated data to predict the need for additional beneficiaries of SAP or Pantawid?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. Yes, it is very important to update our existing database so that we would be able to capture who are the eligible beneficiaries for the various programs of the department. And
Thank you,
yes,
Director.
in addition to that, that is why we conduct the listahanan every 4 years so that we would be able to capture the correct information of our intended or eligible or target beneficiaries. As I've mentioned earlier, we started with the listahanan 3, but because of the crisis that happened on the early part of the year, well, the process that we were undertaking for listahan entry was somehow derailed or postponed, and we would be able to continue with the enumeration soon as the situation improves. But definitely, we would update our database so that we would be able to ensure that the needed services are really provided to our target beneficiaries.
All right, thank you, Director. Let me just go quickly because we're running out of time actually. And we have some questions that we would like all the panelists to answer. So I think we can just go through this question. First is, how do we ensure inclusivity in these apps and online quick updates, particularly for those who do not have stable internet connectivity? I think also for those who don't have smartphones and those who live in rural areas who don't have even mobile signals. So perhaps Dr. Kaiton, you can answer it first.
Um, for us, kasi there is really that limitation on how do we bring this data available to the public in terms of, yes, this accessibility constraint in the with those with limited information. So it's not something that we can really do right now with regards to the data. With regards to the quick count data, right now kasi we are assuming that these are being inputted by the data is uploaded by individual by city and barangay officials, which we do understand not everyone would have data access, especially those from the far flung areas. So it is a constraint. It is something that is in development pa din naman. Pero with regards to like delivering all of the data to the public, there will be some constraints that we really cannot handle in this respect.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Peter. Um, Sir Milben, would you like to respond to that question, please?
Come again? Can you repeat the question?
Yes, sir. How do we ensure po inclusivity of the apps that we are developing right now for those who don't have access to stable internet, mobile devices?
Yes. Actually, that is one of the limitations of our system. But I think the intervention of our government agencies is really needed. For example, the ICT could, I think, provide more spots or access to this internet to these communities. So I think we will be continuously pushing on that efforts initiatives.
Okay. Director Irene, would you like to answer also the question?
Yes, we recognize the limitation of some of our beneficiaries or our recipients of the SAP who might not be able to register their information in the Relief Agad app because of internet connectivity. That is why our partners have developed also a module that can be used by the local government units, wherein they could provide or submit their information through the desktop computers of the local government units. Apart from that, there's also simultaneous encoding of the LGUs of the information provided by the beneficiaries. And that is submitted to the DSWD Central Office for the process of validation and deduplication.
All right, thank you, ma'am. I think this last question for everyone is that what are your initiatives to build local capacity to maximize all these data tools and technologies and approaches? Maybe, yeah, Dr. Peter, please.
Well, right now, with regards to especially our access with the LGU quick count data as guided by the memorandum by Secretary Anya of the DILG, we are currently constructing through the LGU data analytics team inside the UP COVID-19 response team now to deliver a more localized approach to presenting the data. Right now, we are in a trial stage with some of the step-by-step processes of like releasing the data for the provinces, for the municipalities, of which we already have it for some statistics like yung epidemic curve and yung RT, and that is a growing development within the UP COVID-19 to present data in a more localized level with the LGUs in mind.
Yes, it's very critical nga po for LGUs no, to use these technologies and data. Sir Milben and Director Irene?
Yes po, thank you po. Actually, our initiative right now is to continuously uh, involve DILG, OCD, DSWD, those potential users, so that we can have more access to the LGUs, so that everybody can try the system, and we can add more features that the potential users might be of that they need. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sir Milben. And lastly, Director Irene?
Part of the Department of Social Welfare and Development, one of our mandates is to provide technical assistance and resource augmentation to the local government units, particularly to the local social welfare development officers, for them to efficiently and effectively deliver the social protection programs to their constituents. Again, as part of the Tara Council of the DSWD, we conduct capacity building activities, and we continuously coordinate with the local social welfare development officers so that the programs pertaining to social welfare and development being implemented by the national government will be cascaded effectively to the local government units, including of course the identification of the poor, the vulnerable, and the marginalized in the local government units, and of course in the provision of the needed assistance to their constituents.
All right. Thank you, Director Irene. And I think that's a wrap for the question and answer portion. And I am sure that there are a lot of learnings in this webinar. And I think just the key takeaways from this set of panelists is that collaboration is the key. Do you agree with that? You know, there are a lot of partnerships and collaboration that this pandemic has brought to us. And we also recognize the role of youth, no, in developing these tools and technologies. And one of the challenges, of course, is to translate these data to information and to make it usable for planning, for decision making in our localities. And with that, I really thank all our panelists, Director Irene, Dr. Peter, Mr. Milben, and Ms. Slay. Let's give ourselves a virtual round of applause. Thank you for sharing your time with us and inspiring us this afternoon. Before we formally close, I would just have a few reminders for our attendees. First, the evaluation link is posted on your screen. Please take your time to evaluate, give us feedback, and or how we can improve this webinar. You can go to tinyurl.com/whydatamatters2020. And this webinar is recorded and will be posted on our Facebook pages, facebook.com/dsdsche and facebook.com/dservche. Lastly, We also like to thank UPLB ITC, especially Sir John, for providing this webinar platform. And of course, the organizers of STE Talks and ePraxis would like to thank all of the attendees. On behalf of the College of Human Ecology, I'm Sandy from DSERP and with Mr. Jillian from the SDS. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat at mabuhay po tayong lahat. Wash your hands. Salamat po.
Thank you po. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. And I'm sorry. Again, I'm sorry at nahuli ko yung pasok ko.
It's okay, ma'am. Thank you po.
Okay. Thank you to our attendees and our panelists. Goodbye.